Good evening, everyone. I'm very pleased to welcome you to our fourth annual COS Forum. I'm Dr. Mona Dagger, President of the Canadian Ophthalmological Society. Tonight, we look ahead to the future of COS and ophthalmology in Canada, with updates on residency training in Canada, advances in AI, COS's Equity-focused Mentorship Program, Advocacy priorities for 2026, and of course, the annual meeting and exhibition. While we are getting ready and everyone is logging on, I will highlight a few COS initiatives you might not know about. Have you checked out the ICANN podcast? In Season 6 of ICANN, Dr. Hadi Saab and guest host explore topics from surgeon ergonomics to inspiring stories from a Paralympian advocate to the science behind PreserFlow microshunt and many more episodes. If you haven't visited the See the Possibilities website recently, now's the time. It features new patient-friendly content on eye conditions and treatments, expert insights from Canadian ophthalmologists, interactive quizzes, and a clear guide to the eye care team. It's a useful resource for the public and patients looking to better understand eye health. Speaking of great information, this is for you, the ophthalmologist. If you haven't browsed through the PRC, this is our online portal for clinical tools, position statements, and CPD opportunities. You can search those opportunities by subspecialty, by type of learning, section 1, 2, or 3 credits, or on the easy-to-use calendar. Whether you're searching for one particular item or browsing the deep well of information, the PRC is your one-stop shop. The Sally Letson Symposium is a 2.5-day program in Ottawa that provides an in-depth look at specific topics in ophthalmology. The 2026 symposium will focus on glaucoma, bringing together leading experts in neuroscience, artificial intelligence, and digital health to examine emerging approaches to diagnosis, monitoring, and management. If you're just logging on, you are in the right place for the COS Forum. We will be starting shortly. I'm very pleased to welcome you to our fourth annual COS Forum. I'm Dr. Mona Dagger, President of the Canadian Ophthalmological Society. Tonight we look ahead to the future of COS and ophthalmology in Canada, with updates on residency training in Canada, advances in AI, COS's Equity-focused Mentorship Program, Advocacy priorities for 2026, and the COS annual meeting and exhibition. We acknowledge that we are meeting today on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of Indigenous peoples across what is known as Canada. These lands are home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people, each with their own histories, cultures, and relationships to the land. As we gather virtually from many places, we recognize the enduring presence and contributions of Indigenous peoples, and we honor their past, present, and future stewardship of the lands. I don't have any financial disclosures. So this webinar is an accredited group learning activity as defined by the Maintenance of Certification Program of the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Canada and approved by the COS. That means you can get Section 1 credits for an hour and 25 that you'll spend with us in the mock program. The COS will be sending all participants an email tomorrow with an evaluation link. Once you have completed the evaluation, you will be able to download your certificate of attendance. The learning objectives tonight are to integrate multidisciplinary perspective to advance excellence in ophthalmic care, to evaluate the impact of emerging trends and technologies on the future of ophthalmology, and to promote a culture of equity, inclusion, and lifelong learning in ophthalmology. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping notes. Tonight you'll be hearing from 5 speakers. After each presentation, there will be a Q&A session. As you listen, Please feel free to post your questions in the Q&A tab at the bottom of your Zoom screen. I'll do my best to share as many as possible with our presenters during the time we have. At the end of the evening, we hope to have a few extra minutes to revisit any remaining questions or follow-ups. We're looking forward to your engagement through polls that will pop up during the presentations. And to get you comfortable with the feature, especially if you haven't used it before, let's start with a quick practice poll. So which skill would you most like to master? A, learning a new language. B, playing a musical instrument. C, cooking gourmet meals. D, mastering a sport. Or E, improving photography skills or art skills. You can go ahead and vote. We have time. And we can show the results. Awesome. So it's varied. I would have said all of the above. Okay, thank you so much. We'll move on. So the goal tonight is really to give you an opportunity to see COS in perspective. COS is the National Authority for Eye and Vision Care in Canada, representing over 1,200 ophthalmologists as well as residents and fellows. Our mission is to ensure that all Canadians have access to the highest quality medical and surgical eye care. We promote excellence in ophthalmology, we support our members in practice, and we advocate for policies that advance eye and vision health, working closely with government and specialty societies. Recent achievements include the passage of Bill C-284 in 2024, establishing a national eye care strategy, and our collaboration with Health Canada to manage drug and device shortages. Finally, COS is proud to be an accredited provider of continuing professional development, helping our members stay at the forefront of our field. And we're also very excited to bring together ophthalmologists from across Canada to our 2026 annual meeting taking place in Montreal from June 18th to 21. This meeting will feature an outstanding faculty, both Canadian and international, presenting the latest innovations and research in ophthalmology. You'll be hearing more about it later in the session too. So without further ado, let's kick off the evening by welcoming our first speaker, Dr. Anne Zhuang Lan Nguyen. Dr. Nguyen is a resident physician in ophthalmology and visual sciences at the University of Toronto on the surgeon scientist track. She is pursuing a PhD in molecular and cellular medicine at the University of Oxford as a Rhodes Scholar. Dr. Nguyen currently serves as president of the Council of Canadian Ophthalmology Residents and just completed her term as resident representative on the PRC committee. Tonight, she'll be presenting on Residency in Ophthalmology, the CCOR at work for residents in Canada. Welcome, Dr. Nguyen.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today. So my name is Anne Nguyen. I am the president of the Council of Canadian Ophthalmology Residents, as mentioned by Dr. Dagger. The Council of Canadian Ophthalmology Residents is also known as CCOR. And over the next few minutes, I'll be sharing a national resident perspective on ophthalmology training in Canada. I have no relevant financial disclosures. So we're going to start off with a poll, so maybe we can already pop it up. So which areas of ophthalmology residency benefits most from national coordination? I know it's hard to pick, but you have a couple of options and you can only pick one. The first one can be surgical skills, exposure and experiential learning, advocacy and leadership development, research training and collaboration, transition to practice and fellowship planning, and lastly, resident education and curriculum development. And maybe we can show the results now. So there's a majority for resident education and curriculum development. So obviously a key element of residency, but it seems that there's also split amongst the other areas as well. So today I have the pleasure of covering the role of CCOR, what has changed over the last 5 years, and where residency training in ophthalmology is heading. So as a recap, CCOR serves as the national voice for Canadian ophthalmology residents. We support the transition from residency to practice, provide a bridge to ongoing engagement within the Canadian Ophthalmological Society, promote early leadership development, and address shared challenges in education faced by residents across the country. So one of the most important changes over the past 5 years has been the professionalization and sustainability of CCOR as a national organization. In 2021, CCOR had a relatively small executive structure. By 2025, we expanded to dedicated executive portfolios in education, research, communications, advocacy, and fellowship and transition to practice, reflecting the increasing complexity of residents' needs. So this growth has been accompanied by strong resident engagement, and in 2024, there were 15 applicants for 9 elected executive positions, and in 2025, 17 applicants competed for 11 positions, again highlighting increasing interest in national leadership roles among residents. So that's why we also decided to introduce formal subcommittees, now involving 36 residents nationally, and this allows any resident in Canada to participate beyond the executive, and this promotes continuity year to year. In parallel, we also strengthen national communication channels, including a revamped website, a regular resident newsletter, and active social media presence. So this really helps keep the residents informed, engaged, and connected across programs. And together, these structural and communication initiatives have shifted CCOR from a small, volunteer-based group into a stable, representative, and forward-looking national organization. So we also organize in-person initiatives, and our goal is really building a community. So for example, we have focused on this key initiative called the Young Ophthalmologist Symposium. It takes place annually at the COS meeting, and the first instances that we could find online of it is actually in 2010. And since then, it has changed a lot, but it's a formal national opportunity for residents and early career ophthalmologists from across Canada to gather, connect, and engage in focused discussions on career development and transition to practice. We also, and this occurs during the COS annual meeting weekend in person. The second initiative is the skills transfer course, which focuses on hands-on surgical skill development outside routine clinical training. And this year we have a MIGS wet lab planned. And finally, we run the very popular Medical Student Symposium since 2023. It's a resident-led mentorship initiative that supports early exposure to ophthalmology and strengthens the pipeline into residency training. And now let's go to after residency. So transition after residency, whether into fellowship or independent practice, is one of the most uncertain periods for trainees. So we have focused on providing practical, centralized resources with the help of COS to also help residents navigate these decisions with greater clarity and confidence. So there's this National Fellowship Directory along a fellowship guidebook available to all residents on the COS Practice Resource Center. We also organized some talks that were all recorded, and they're about subspecialty and transition to practice. And now it's available on demand, regardless of the resident's location or schedule. And throughout the year, we also support structured education around the business and financial aspects of practice, including webinars on incorporation, investing, and financial decision-making at key transition points. Recognizing excellence is also an important part of supporting resident engagement and professional development nationally. So we partner with organizations to offer national awards that recognize leadership, research, and service, including wonderful collaborations with Orbis, Eye Disease Foundation, and the COS Foundation. And we now proudly offer 10 medical student grants, 6 residence award, and 1 national lectureship annually. given that there was an increased interest in advocacy, we decided to have this new position of Director of Advocacy within CCOR, and it gives direct representation on the COS Council of Advocacy. And we also created a new subcommittee, the Women in Ophthalmology one, due to a very popular demand. And secondly, residents have also participated directly in advocacy efforts, including representation at COS Day on the Hill, and this provides first-hand exposure to federal advocacy. And lastly, we contributed to coordinated advocacy aligned with COS positions, including engagement related to Quebec's Bill 2 and optometry scope expansion in Ontario. So now I'd like to ask one more poll question. So maybe we can pop it up. Looking ahead, where do you think national residency efforts should focus next? And your responses here are extremely helpful in guiding CCOR's future priorities. So do you think it should be about workforce and job market issues, surgical skills access, practice management training, or health policy and advocacy? Maybe we'll let it run for a couple of seconds and then we can see the results together. Wonderful. So it seems that it's quite split again, with a bit of a minority for workforce and job market issues, and then health policy and advocacy, and then surgical skills access. But I think across Canada, we're very fortunate to have wonderful residency programs, and then practice management and training. So very interesting findings. Thank you everyone for participating. To summarize, ophthalmology residency training benefits greatly from national coordination, and over the past 5 years, we're fortunate that CCOR has grown into a mature, sustainable resident organization. Our programming targets real gaps between training and practice. And finally, ongoing collaborations between COS and CCOR is essential to ensure residency training to evolve with the profession. So as we say, strong residency training today shapes the ophthalmology workforce of tomorrow. I'd like to conclude by thanking my executive CCOR committee, so the 2025-2026 one, as well as our board liaison, Dr. Samir Jabour, the whole COS board of directors, and the COS team, especially Kim and Monica, for today's forum. And again, all Canadian ophthalmology residents that have been participating in our programming. And I'm happy to answer any question you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wynn. That was amazing. I'm really in awe of all the exceptional work that you're doing. Thanks for sharing all that with us. Now we'll take a few moments to take some questions. I have a question here for you. How is leadership continuity within CCOR ensured?
That's an excellent question. Thank you, Dr. Dagger. So we actually have a vice president position that transitions the following year into the president one. So that ensures direct continuity over a period of 2 years. And actually this year, we piloted the direct past president role, similarly to the COS, to ensure even more continuity, so a 3-year period. And we're also fortunate, as I mentioned, to have the subcommittee members and having the same portfolios and representation within the COS councils really helps strengthen our organization.
Great. And another question here, how can faculty support CCOR?
Oh, that's like music to my ears. I think the first concrete thing that faculty can do is to allow residents to take part into CCOR activities. So, for example, at the COS annual meeting when they're volunteering as mentors or during courses and things like that. So residents are very active. And also more formally, we always seek faculty members to help us mentorship-wise with trainees. So either residents, medical students, or as speakers to some of our webinars.
Thank you so much. We'll come back to more questions if we have some in the Q&A. Thanks, Dr. Wynn. That was great. Next up, we're thrilled to have Dr. Ferris Antaki, a board-certified ophthalmologist from Montreal. Dr. Antaki earned his medical degree from McGill University in 2018. During his ophthalmology residency at the University of Montreal, he served as chief resident, received multiple research and teaching awards, and graduated as valedictorian across all residency specialties in 2023. He subsequently completed a fellowship in artificial medical intelligence at the Moorfields Eye Hospital and the UCL Institute of Ophthalmology in London, United Kingdom. He is currently a vitreoretinal surgery fellow at the Cleveland Clinic COS Institute and was recently awarded the prestigious Ron J. Michaels Fellowship Foundation Award, one of the highest distinctions for vitreoretinal surgery fellows in the United States. His research focuses on the application of artificial intelligence and emerging technologies in ophthalmology, an area which he has published extensively, and now he has over 75 peer-reviewed papers as a fellow only. Ophthalmology, so now Dr. Antaki will be presenting an update on artificial intelligence advancement important for ophthalmology. And it was originally delivered 2 years ago, but we're going to get an update now. Dr. Antaki, the floor is yours. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dagger, for the introduction. Just want to confirm everyone can see my slides and can hear me well. Fantastic. So today I want to talk about a topic that interests me a lot, which is chatbots. And the question is, chatbots in the ophthalmology clinic, will we soon be replaced? Here are my financial disclosures not related to the content of this presentation. Let's start with a polling question. Let's pop up the question. In your opinion, will ophthalmologists be replaced by artificial intelligence? I give you 3 answer options. Yes, in most aspects, AI will replace ophthalmologists across most medical roles. Partially in some aspects, so AI will take over specific tasks, but ophthalmologists will remain central to their mission. Or no, AI has no role in ophthalmology. Let's give you 10 more seconds. Great. Most of you feel that partially AI has a role in ophthalmology, and I share your view. So artificial intelligence in ophthalmology is a very broad topic. A lot of you may be familiar with computer vision, which is a subfield of AI, where we talk about image analysis. So analyzing OCTs or fundus photos to detect, for example, diabetic retinopathy. But today I want to focus on something called large language models, specifically chatbots. So what are chatbots? Chatbots are programs that simulate human conversation. Chatbots have come a long way. Some of you may remember 20 years ago on MSN Messenger, you could chat with a computer program. Those were called rule-based chatbots. But today, when we're talking about chatbots, we're referring to AI-based chatbots such as Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT. AI-based chatbots, fundamentally, the technology behind them is large language models. And this is a novel type of AI models designed to understand and generate human language. And what makes them fascinating is their ability to hold multi-turn conversations, understand complex queries and questions, generate creative content, and adapt their tone and their style to the user. So how are those chatbots even built? I think it's really important to go back to basics to understand what they're capable of and their limitations. So LLMs, or large language models, are trained through something called self-supervision. Let's take the example of this saying by Heraclitus, a Greek philosopher: "The only constant in life is change." That original text is broken down into words, tokens. One token or one word is masked. Then you train a model to predict the next word, so to predict the word change. This process is repeated until the model has the ability to predict the correct word. Imagine this, but at a very, very, very big scale. So the process is repeated billions and billions of times. Billions of times using everything that we've ever written on the internet, all of the books we've ever written, all of the encyclopedias out there. And therefore, once that training is done, LLMs have a general representation of humanity's written corpora. What they know how to do is predict the next word, and they have a general understanding of everything we've ever said or written. The problem, however, is that our collective written corpora is often riddled with misinformation and themes of bias. So before big companies like OpenAI or Google release those models and you can start using them, those LLMs must be aligned to our values. And it is generally agreed that those chatbots or LLMs must be helpful, honest, and harmless. And the way they're made helpful, honest, and harmless is straightforward. So LLMs generate a response. That response is evaluated by employees at OpenAI and Google across thousands and thousands of examples. And then those answers are graded. This is a good answer. This is a bad answer. And then this is fed back into the model, and the model parameters are adjusted until they're happy with the result, and then they release it to the public. So what are those LLM chatbots capable of? LLMs have shown impressive abilities in ophthalmology. My research team and I have been looking at those since 2020, end of 2022. We tested ChatGPT and different versions of it on multiple choice examination dataset that we licensed from the American Academy of Ophthalmology. It's very similar to the OCAP examination that residents write every year. So it has 260 questions, 4 answer choices, multiple choice, and 1 correct answer. When we tested the same data set in 2023 with GPT 3.5, the performance was 55.8%. That performance went up to 75.8% with a better model again in 2023. And most recently, when we tested GPT-5, the performance was almost perfect, 96.5%. What this means is that those large language models have embedded knowledge of ophthalmology, so they may be useful to us in clinic. So how can you use them in clinic? I like to think of applications of LLM chatbots in ophthalmology practice through two categories. Workflow improvement, so helping you generating reports and writing in the chart, and then clinical assistance, so making you, a better doctor. Workflow improvement, EHR documentation. Imagine you're examining a patient. There's a chatbot that listens to your conversation with the patient. You describe your examination out loud, and a few minutes later, there's a simplified note that appears in the electronic health record and a simplified patient note to tell them what's happening with them. A lot of companies have already invested in that pipeline, and there already exists multiple products that do that. Clinical triage. Imagine you have a chatbot that is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. A patient sends a photo and says, I had an intravitreal injection 3 days ago. My eye is red and painful. The chatbot asks a relevant question, has your vision changed? The patient says yes. The chatbot appropriately triages the patient to the emergency room for concern of post-injection endophthalmitis. So you probably have seen and heard a lot of people talk about how those things exist, but how can you practically benefit from those? Well, I like to think of the ChatGPT revolutions from lessons learned from the personal computer revolution. So a few decades ago, when Macs and PCs became available in everyone's living room, people started coming up with the questions and solutions to those questions that engineers at Apple and Microsoft had never thought of, because people are experts in their own domains and come up with problems and solutions to their own problems. So how can those chatbots help you in your clinical practice? Well, those chatbots can help you because they enable something called vibe coding. Remember this term because I think you will hear it a lot in the coming years. Vibe coding is this novel software development approach where you can build software using spoken language. So you can use English to build software applications. So an ophthalmologist without coding expertise can chat with an agent or a chatbot, synonyms, in English. They prompt the model, so they make a request. That chatbot understands their request and turns their request into code that powers software. I'll give you an example I built specifically for this presentation. I want to streamline referrals to my retina practice. So I'm using one of those chatbots and I say, hey, build a web application that streamlines referrals to my practice. I want to allow optometrists, ophthalmologists, family physicians to submit referrals, and I want them to enter demographics, vision, exam findings, and a suspected diagnosis from a list of retinal conditions. Within minutes, I get a first version of my software. So I get a patient intake form. So name, date of birth, last name. The model recognizes that this is a medical application, so asks for insurance and insurance provider and insurance number. It also does exactly what I said. It asks for clinical details from the referring doctor. It knows that visual acuity is Snellen typically, so the placeholder text is 20/20, asks for IOP, although I didn't specifically ask for it, and then asks chief complaints, symptom duration, exam findings, and diagnosis. And you can iterate by chatting with that chatbot and saying, hey, I want to add a new feature or I want to change something. So here I want to add the option to upload fundus photos, OCTs, and other relevant images or PDF. So within minutes, the chatbot modifies the software it had built and gives people the option to upload OCTs and images. Once you're happy with the application, you can deploy it and start accepting referrals. So this is the back end of what the physician can see. Of course, you need to be careful because whenever you're dealing with patient information, you need to ensure the system you have built can ensure data privacy. But it is really as simple as that. So will we soon be replaced? I don't think chatbots will replace ophthalmologists. However, I strongly believe that ophthalmologists who use chatbots will surpass those who don't. So stop waiting and start building. You are the domain expert. Your medical knowledge makes you the expert. So start building things and start finding solutions to the problems that you face in your routine clinical practice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Antaki. That was impressive. I'm looking forward to your future. And back in Montreal, we're looking back to having you with us. I know you're going to do great work, so really excited about the future of AI and yourself with this. Let's now take a few questions. I'll start with one. What is one thing about chatbots that excites you?
Really excites me is the fast pace that those chatbots are evolving at. So every few weeks we have new companies releasing better and better chatbots, and a lot of people are predicting that within 1 to 2 years those chatbots will be able to code or build anything really. So that's really exciting, the fast pace of progress.
Amazing. And so the flip question is, what is one thing about chatbots that worries you?
Because they're so good, it worries me on multiple aspects. People will build things and sometimes they'll take shortcuts. So they may try to build something for patients, but they may not consider data privacy issues. So that's something that's really important we have to remember.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll come back if there's questions at the end. Next we have Dr. Iman Karani, a PGY3 resident at the University of Alberta Department of Ophthalmology. Iman grew up in Calgary. Dr. Karani now completed her undergraduate education in health sciences at McMaster University and her medical degree at the University of Toronto. She is passionate about mentorship, equity and inclusion, medical education, low vision advocacy, and the intersection of ophthalmology and systemic disease. Tonight she will be speaking on the COS Equity-focused Mentorship Program. Welcome, Dr. Karani.
Thank you, Dr. Dagger, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. I extend my appreciation to the COS for all that they do to support the growth and development of the ophthalmology community. My name is Iman Karani. I'm honored to be a PGY3 resident at the University of Alberta, and I'm excited to share with you the Equity-focused Mentorship Program. I have no financial disclosures as a presenter, but I do have to acknowledge that this program does have current endorsement from MD Financial over the next 3 years. Before continuing, I must acknowledge the team behind this endeavor. We owe endless appreciation to Stephanie New for her leadership, I also want to thank Kate Lim, medical student at Dalhousie, Dr. Bonduc, resident at the University of Calgary, Dr. Pereira, fellow at the University of Toronto for their collaboration, as well as Dr. Law, Dr. Mishra, and Dr. Abu Bakr for their mentorship and guidance. We are going to ask the audience the same poll question we asked mentors at the time of application to the program. We would like to know, in your journey into ophthalmology, if you've been exposed to mentors in the field who represent your identity. If we can get the poll up, I will give everyone a few moments to answer. Thank you so much. And perhaps we can show the answers. Excellent. Okay, so a varied response. Some in strongly disagree, and then worth celebrating, some in the agree category as well and strongly agree. So what does the evidence say about our upstream or future-facing focus our Canadian ophthalmology community needs to have? In a study by Lee and colleagues, 135 Canadian medical students participated in a survey about perceptions of ophthalmology as a career choice. 78% of the respondents did not have any previous exposure, formal or informal, to ophthalmology during medical school. Higher survey scores, which suggested a better perception of ophthalmology, was seen for students with a pre-established interest in ophthalmology and for individuals with a family member in ophthalmology, perhaps demonstrating that representation and familiarity is important. This study subtly supports that garnering curiosity in our specialty begins with exposure, representation, and creating safe spaces for sustained interest. Now, what is the ultimate goal? The ultimate goal is to build a Canadian ophthalmology community with the diversity that reflects the patients we serve. There is a plethora of evidence that suggests that when there is provider-patient concordance, there is improved access to care, improved care adherence, cultural competency, therapeutic trust, patient satisfaction, and better communication. It is also important to reflect on how strengthening the diversity and representation improves the Canadian ophthalmology community itself. Scientific evidence supports an ethical imperative to counteract historical patterns of marginalization in medicine. Even further, research shows that diversity correlates with enhanced performance outcomes and organizational outcomes. Inclusion and diversity are tied in the literature to professional satisfaction, retention of clinicians, and recruitment of clinicians, as visible diversity in a subspecialty is shown to attract a wider pool of applicants. It has also been shown that diversity in subspecialty communities actually enhances research agendas and clinical innovation, propelling publications and innovation on patient advocacy and underrepresented populations. So what is the Equity-focused Mentorship Program? The aim of the program is to create dyadic mentorship pairs, where a mentee from an underrepresented group in medicine is paired with a mentor of identified resonance. Now, why would we do this? Well, we aim to improve access, reduce barriers for medical students curious about ophthalmology, to build representation, to actualize academic endeavors and goals, and to nurture curiosity and familiarity about ophthalmology. The participants currently in the EFMP include mentees in Year 1 and Year 2 Canadian medical schools from underrepresented groups. Mentors involved in the program at present are internationally represented and are open to residents, fellows, or staff ophthalmologists either currently in Canada or who have completed a portion of their medical training in Canada. In our first iteration of the program, we have had the intended timeline shown on the slide. In September and October, we began with mentee and mentor recruitment. In November, our first iteration of matches were completed and introduced by email. December 2025 was the due date for the mentee-mentor contracts completed by the pair, which outlined mentorship goals for the year. In June 2026, we plan to host an in-person optional COS mentee-mentor mixer to unite the community. We will end the program in July of 2026 with post-program feedback and intentions of beginning recruitment for the next iteration in August. Throughout the program, we are asking mentees and mentors to commit a minimum of 3 hours of formal mentorship. We will also host biannual representation circles, which are panel or community-focused talks on topics of equity, diversity, inclusion, and mentorship. Our matching process allowed mentees at the time of application to access anonymized mentor bios. In addition to collecting demographics, we asked mentees to select if they wish to be matched based on academic goals or based on their top 5 ranked mentors. In our matching iterations for the pilot program this year, we prioritized matching Year 2 medical students, Black medical students, Indigenous medical students, and individuals without a formal access to a Department of Ophthalmology at their home school. This program setup and matching process was modeled off of an evidence-proven, successful, and existing diversity mentorship program at the University of Toronto. This is an article in 2021 on the post-program feedback, and it suggested that this matching strategy and program setup was associated with a positive mentorship experience due to themes of accessibility, the diversity focus, clear expectations, access to career guidance, exposure to different perspectives, and exposures to community and a shared identity. I'm so honored to share with you the progress of the EFMP to date. At present, we have successfully matched 50 mentor-mentee pairs. All Year 2 mentee applicants have been matched to a mentor. All individuals who identified as Black, Indigenous, or without access to a formal Department of Ophthalmology at their home school were matched to a mentor of their top choice. We do currently still have 18 mentees who we are working on seeking mentorship for, and we aim to have them paired within the next month or so. We owe the success of this program to the many mentors who have graciously dedicated their time and energy. We can see here that there is vast representation from residents and ophthalmologists, mostly from academic centers. This graph represents the diversity of our mentors and their selected identity statements. Many of our mentors identified as persons of color, first-generation immigrants, women, parents, caregivers, or having experienced financial difficulty. I want to take a moment to honor the diversity of this graph and celebrate the intersectional identities that already exist in our community. Of the mentees applying to the program, 30 applicants were in Year 2 and 47 were in Year 1. 54% of mentees participating indicated that they were planning to apply to ophthalmology and were seriously considering it as a career pathway. This is some of the underrepresented identities of our mentees. In comparison to our mentors, many identities were similar and resonant. We have many mentees in the program who are persons of color, first-generation immigrants, women and people who have experienced financial difficulty. It is worth mentioning that there were more mentees who identified as Black, first to attend university, and from a minority sexual orientation that applied than we had mentors who identified with those statements. I find these final 2 slides important. This is a direct comparison of the mentee-mentor response to the question, I feel I have adequate access to equity-focused mentorship in ophthalmology. And I want to highlight the scant number of mentees and mentors who agreed or strongly agreed with the statement, and the overall global trend of both mentees and mentors towards a more negative or neutral response on the Likert scale. The second opinion question was whether or not they had been exposed to mentors in ophthalmology that represented their identity, again showing a direct side-by-side comparison. I do want to highlight that mentors had many positive responses to the question, again, worth celebrating. However, when we look at the mentee data, 78% of applicants expressed disagreement on the Likert scale, and we have the opportunity to change that. Our next steps include ongoing mentor recruitment, mobilization of resources to participants, a successful representation circle and COS mixer, and it's our goal to have the next iteration of the program fully accessible in French. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share this initiative with you. We are still looking for mentors, and if any of the listeners have time and capacity, a QR code is on the slide that will take you to the application form. I would be so happy to engage in any dialogue or answer any questions if there's time now or at the end of the seminar. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kurani. Thanks for the exceptional work that you've done, and this is really a laudable endeavor. I'd like to congratulate you for all the effort you put into it. It's really wonderful. We'll take a few moments to answer some questions. First off, what are your metrics for success for this Equity-focused Mentorship Program for this year and the years to come?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question, and thank you for the comments, Dr. Dagger. It's really a team effort. I think there are both formal and informal metrics for program success. Formally, we hope to see mentor retention, program growth year after year, and positive post-program feedback. Although this isn't meant to be kind of a pre-CARMS program, we really do hope to build resilient relationships that extend beyond the formal program, if the applicant was so to choose, that could support them and navigate them through the elective, clerkship, and even CARMS process. And then informally, we hope to see ophthalmology more in touch with medical students, especially as it decreases in presence in formal curriculum nationally. So we hope to hear that medical students are more familiar with ophthalmology and see successful role models that emulate their identity and hope for the future, thriving and existing in the field.
Thank you for that thoughtful response. What are the ways the Canadian ophthalmological community can support the longevity and growth of this program moving forward?
Thank you for that question. We are a program that is completely reliant on community support, so we thank everyone who has been so instrumental in kicking off this pilot program to date. Mentor recruitment has been so wonderful, but it is where we could use the most support. We recognize that it takes time and energy, and that's already so scarce and valuable to many members of our community. But mentor recruitment is really what allows us to have a pool of diverse mentors that can connect with the many mentees who have intersectional identities and promote longevity of the program. So word of mouth is always helpful, and it's a meaningful form of advocacy. If you encounter a medical student who expresses barriers in obtaining mentorship or navigating the ophthalmology sphere, sharing the program with them would be a lovely first step. Thank you.
Thank you. And last question, can you tell us more about the structure of representation circles and the motivation behind including it in the program structure?
Absolutely. Representation circles to start will be biannual events that are meant to be spaces for shared identity, community, and group learning. We recognize that mentorship can take many forms, and one of them can be in a more anonymized, community-focused space where ideas and dialogue can be exchanged, very similar to this forum. And so it's just to add another layer to the program where mentees can build relationships, express opinions, and hear from different perspectives.
Again, thank you, Dr. Kurani.
Thank you, Dr. Dagger. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. I do have two questions in the Q&A for Dr. Antaki. We still have some time, so I'll ask them right now. Are we not accelerating potential replacement by training these chatbots with our queries? Also, what are the ethical considerations with the amount of energy these systems use?
Good questions. I think we certainly may be accelerating the development of those chatbots, because a lot of the things the queries or questions we ask those chatbots is used for training, unless you have a pro account or unless you're using something called the API. But I think that progress is inevitable, and I wouldn't limit myself not to use them, not for that replacement or transition not to happen. And then, are there ethical concerns about the amount of energy these systems use? I think that's a funny question. I've seen this trend online recently. I think it's overstated. Yes, those systems use energy, but if you're watching a YouTube video, you're using energy. If you're doing anything today on the internet, you are using GPUs and water. I think that was the concern. But the benefits of those systems for humanity on the long run will outweigh any potential downsides.
Great, thank you. And another question, what program can we use to create chatbots?
A lot of programs exist. My favorite one is called Replit, Replit, and that is a system that integrates an agent you can chat with and then build something and see how it looks, improve it, and then deploy it, meaning put it online on the internet for people to use it. Replit, Replit, but others exist, such as Lovable. That is the main competitor.
Great, thank you, Dr. Antaki.
Thank you.
Next, we're delighted to welcome back Dr. Nina Ahuja. Dr. Ahuja is a leader in both clinical and academic ophthalmology, having held several prominent positions, including president of the Association of Canadian University Professors of Ophthalmology, otherwise known as ACUPO, and academic chair for the Division of Ophthalmology at McMaster University. As chair of the Council on Advocacy here at COS, her passion for healthcare advocacy really shines. She's also a pioneer in leadership development, wellness, and inclusion within the medical field. Tonight, Dr. Ahuja will speak on advocacy in action, year in review, and what's coming in 2026. Welcome, Dr. Ahuja.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dagher, for the introduction. It's so nice to be here, and thanks to everyone for joining. I'm always excited to talk about advocacy, so it's wonderful to have so many participants. I don't have any financial disclosures relating to this presentation. So when we talk about advocacy in COS, we're really trying to ensure excellence in eye care across Canada, as Dr. Dagher had said in the introduction. We really try to do this by aligning ourselves with fellow vision partners across the country, different organizations, so that we can elevate awareness of the issues relating to eye care, as well as for patients so that they can understand common eye conditions. The goal is, of course, to prevent blindness, preserve vision, improve overall eye health, so that we can preserve the gift of sight for all Canadians. Now, advocacy is important to engage in for multiple reasons and at multiple levels. Education and awareness is important within our profession to keep everyone up to date as to what's coming down the pipeline. Also, it's important to keep our fellow healthcare professionals engaged as well. It's surprising how little training that our fellow medical professionals get in eye health and diagnostics, so that it's important for us to be able to provide resources and avenues for our healthcare professionals to engage. Policy advocacy, of course, is also really important. This is where we're working with government to influence legislation and regulations that impact vision care as well. And then community engagement, which is involving our fellow stakeholders in the eye care spectrum and also our general community as well. Various lobby groups can get involved with advocating for eye health. And so engaging with different groups is also part of what we're trying to do. Resource mobilization, trying to obtain financial support and other in-kind support is also important so that we can continue with advocacy efforts. And then specifically towards the public, allowing access to resources and providing resources to people so they can learn about the big 5 common eye conditions, various ways to prevent eye conditions from progressing, and also to help them understand what's important about the different eye care professionals involved in the spectrum of care and what the differences are, as an example. If we go to our first polling question, I'd like to know which of these issues is the most important to you from an advocacy perspective. So Bill C-284 is the National Strategy for Eye Care, as Dr. Dagher had mentioned earlier. I'll speak a little bit more about that as well in a moment. The optometry scope expansion issue, public versus private cataract surgery, and if there are any other issues that you can think of that you'd like to share in the chat, we would love to hear them. So I'll give you 5-10 seconds to complete that poll. Okay, and if we could see the results for that, please. So Bill C-284, optometry scope expansion. Yes, I agree. I've been very involved with that, as have many people in our board and community and provincial representatives. So I will definitely be speaking on that. Bill C-284 as well, and public and private. The Zoom chat, is there anything coming up in the Zoom chat for other issues? I can't seem to bring that up on my side. Let's see here. Nothing right now. Okay, thank you. All right. So in terms of updates and what we've been working on, 2025 was a very, very busy year. It was on the heels of Bill C-284 passing in November 2024. That again is the National Eye Care Strategy, which is really focusing on improving access to eye care, essential eye care services across the country. So remote areas, rural areas, various groups that are underserved, trying to really ensure that there are certain frameworks put in place so that people can access eye care and also be aware of preventative measures and then having access through the spectrum of care through to rehabilitation. To this end, we've been doing a number of activities. They're listed here. I will go into them one by one as well. Overall, though, it's gone from collaborative engagement with our vision partners through to the national press conference that was held in December, specifically relating to optometry scope expansion. So looking at Bill C-284 for a moment, there is a Vision Health Partners Coalition, which involves all the different organizations that you're seeing on the screen, from CNIB to the Canadian Council for the Blind and the others that are mentioned here. The goal is really to work together and create that continuum of care so that patients and the community understands and the population understands who's the right person to help you for what you need at the right time and with the right professional. Part of this, we're really trying to look at equitable access across the spectrum of the population, integrated care systems, looking at interprofessional collaboration as well, where there's very clear, defined parameters around who does what the education differences are, and where things should transition in terms of referral pathways and care pathways. Awareness and education for policymakers on the differences of the eye care professionals, communities as well, meaning the public, in terms of them understanding who does what, and then also looking at just helping people understand what the common eye conditions are, as I mentioned before, so that they can work towards prevention and early detection by having this increased access as we develop these systems. Research and data is also another pillar of the framework that we're putting together. That is really to get a centralized data set so that we can make informed decisions when it comes to policy making, and then also informing things through to education, residency training, all the things that impact workforce across the spectrum, where we're really trying to emphasize the ophthalmology position in this as well. And then, of course, we're also trying to guide strategy implementation, really emphasizing that ophthalmology, we are the subject matter experts in this, medical care, surgical care, and just understanding the healthcare system as a whole, since we see the hospital side as well as the clinical side, education side, and everything else. So we have submitted our own framework on behalf of the COS in terms of what we would like to see it look like. And that does, again, emphasize ophthalmology as the lead, but working in collaboration with all of our Vision Health partners. And so we've been meeting with Judy Srow, who was the championing MP on these issues as well, keeping her abreast at what we would like to see, and also definitely highlighting the fact that we are ready to help however we can. With respect to advocacy and government relations, we had over 23 MP meetings in 2025, which was quite remarkable. The previous year we were in single digits, so it's really nice to see that we were over 20. What we're emphasizing there, again, is support for the National Eye Care Strategy by establishing a Vision Health Desk. We'd like to see a centralized assignment within the government that is overseeing all the activities that are associated with the bill. We are also trying to encourage the federal government to encourage the provinces to implement title use clarity for optometry. What that means is that all optometrists would be required to put their credentials as well as the name of their profession at the end of their name. This is required by other professionals like osteopaths, chiropractors. It's provincial, though. It depends on what province you're in. But what we're trying to do is hopefully have some standardized identifier across the board so that when proposals for scope expansion and other legislative requests are put forward, that the policymakers and government officials know who is submitting the information. We have not yet been successful in pushing this through, but we are certainly trying to increase awareness and encourage the federal government to, again, encourage the provincial governments. And it is under provincial jurisdiction, as I said. So it's a bit challenging that way. We're also trying to have increased funding for residency training positions. Again, federally trying to say, can you tell your provinces to allocate more towards healthcare education? The distribution of funds do originate from the federal government, but we're also trying to promote ophthalmology as being one of those designated areas that should have more funding because we are going to have increased needs for workforce as we move forward. And finally, one of the things, I shouldn't say finally, we're doing many other things, but one of the other points we're trying to emphasize is that, again, ophthalmology, we are the subject matter experts. Any and all discussions when it comes to patient care pathways, legislative changes, and so on should be absolutely with consultation with ophthalmology. We are happy to collaborate with our fellow healthcare professionals, including optometry, but that we really need to be involved in these discussions proactively and not reactively, where we're finding out that a discussion is happening and then we try to get an invite, which is what has happened in the past. But we're getting there and people are listening and they know that we're here. We're also looking at exploring integration and expansion of AI and vision health. Last week, I think there was a working group with one of the MPs, so I was involved with that discussion, and we'll continue to be engaged with that with our fellow members who are interested in it to have representation and our voice heard from the ophthalmology perspective. Optometry scope expansion, of course, we did the national press conference in response to Alberta's approval in principle for their optometry's request for scope expansion. The in principle part, we were disappointed to hear about that because what that really means is that the proposal was not approved. Optometry has been invited to submit a new proposal addressing certain issues like education, training standards, and a few other items as well. We would have preferred that they would have just said this is declined and you're welcome to resubmit because this has caused confusion, encouragement. It also sets precedent for people in other provinces or policymakers in other provinces where if they don't necessarily pay attention to what approved in principle means, that does set an impression or perception that this was approved in Alberta, therefore maybe we should approve it in Ontario and BC and all the other provinces that are trying to put this forward, that optometry is trying to put this forward in. So we are trying to prioritize patient safety. We did do the press conference to increase awareness. We got a lot of press on that as well, which was good. We're emphasizing surgery requires physician-level expertise and also presenting evidence and data from the US, which is showing that increasing expanded scope of practice for optometry is not really benefiting in terms of increased access, reducing costs. It's in fact doing the opposite. So we are definitely trying to have our voices heard on that, and we are continuing to speak on that in the various meetings and opportunities that we have in conjunction with, again, emphasizing the difference between the the three O's, the optometrists, ophthalmologists, and opticians, because surprisingly, many government officials do not know the difference, which is quite alarming and concerning from our perspective. So we are definitely trying to fill that knowledge gap. Which leads us to our second polling question. What are the most important issues COS should focus on in 2026 from your perspective? Defining appropriate integration of AI into daily practice, scope of practice expansion and its implications for patient safety and quality of care, developing evidence-based interprofessional patient care pathways to map out the patient journey from prevention to rehab in collaboration with vision health partners, and the final option, creating educational materials for the public and policymakers to clarify the roles and responsibilities of the three O's. So we'll give you another 10 seconds for that. Okay, if we could please see the responses. So scope of practice, 61%. I definitely agree with that. And the others are fairly close. Yeah, scope of practice is really our biggest challenge, I would say, at this point. So I really, really encourage everyone to get involved with advocacy. We can use all the help that we can get. Please make donations. I'm sorry to put a plug in, but we need the funds to be able to do public awareness campaigns the way we need to do them. And any engagement you would like to have, I would love to hear from you as chair of advocacy. And, as we move forward in this work, it's going to be really, really, really important. So thank you very much for your time, and thanks again for coming. And thanks again for organizing this, and Kim and Monica and the production team for running it, and Dr. Dagger, of course.
Thank you so much, Nina, for the exceptional work you do for advocacy at the COS. And I know that COS is in excellent hands with US President-elect.
Thank you.
We do have some questions here for you. Based on your experience in advocacy, what is one mindset or leadership skill ophthalmologists can develop to be more effective voices for patients and for the profession?
I would say the most important thing is we need to start being proactive in our advocacy rather than reactive. It's interesting to me how we often are the last people to know that a scope expansion proposal is active on the table. Ontario is the perfect example. We heard about Alberta. We knew that was ongoing. That's been something that's been happening over 5 years, but we thought that was sort of stagnant, and all of a sudden it was approved. Ontario, then we found out, we just happened to find out thanks to our provincial presidents and Rich in that regard, who was able to let us know that there was a request for consultation in progress with a deadline a few weeks away. And that was the first that we'd heard of it, where we thought that was also on hold, and yet it popped up as being something active. So I think being proactive in our advocacy, really having our voices heard, really putting forward strong positions that we want to engage, we want to collaborate, we need to be heard, we need to be leading this. It's really important. We're fortunate to have amazing provincial presidents in our provincial counterparts for COS across the country doing the work. So, engaging with them, really supporting them is important. So again, we can stay ahead of the 8 ball. I get the phrases wrong all the time, instead of being behind it. So that would be a big mindset shift, I think, would really help.
Thank you. And for members who want to get more involved in advocacy but aren't sure where to start, what's one meaningful first step you would recommend?
I think getting informed is really important. Keeping abreast of what the changes are, what's coming down the pipeline. We offer updates through the COS Advocacy Council. We send it to our members, but also engaging with our provincial counterparts, again, the presidents, and asking, how can you engage? I think also locally, you can certainly be meeting with your MPs, if you have an opportunity as well, speaking to them about the issues, clarifying what the differences are in training and experience and expertise when it comes to optometry and ophthalmology, emphasizing we want to collaborate as well. We want to support the government. We want an interprofessional model that is optimizing care and access to care for all patients, so that we're cooperative, but at the same time, we're certainly maintaining our presence as the subject matter experts for vision care and eye health.
Thank you again, Dr. Ahuja.
Thank you.
Our final speaker tonight is Dr. Adam Musichuk, Chair of the Annual Meeting Planning Committee at COS. Dr. Musichuk is a cataract refractive surgeon and anterior segment surgeon with fellowship training in cornea and external disease. He's known for his work in ophthalmology education and clinical trials, particularly in presbyopia correcting and ultra-low cylinder toric IOLs. As chair of the Annual Meeting Planning Committee, he's instrumental in planning our upcoming events. Tonight, Dr. Musichuk will provide us with an overview on the annual meeting and exhibition, inaugural film festival, co-developed symposium, skill transfer courses, self-assessment programs. Take it away, Adam.
Thanks so much, Dr. Dagger. I'm so excited to be back here and to be discussing the annual meeting. So the date of the meeting is going to be June 18th to 21st, 2026. And of course, we're excited to have this back in Montreal for the first time in almost 10 years. So before we get into the highlights, it's important to acknowledge the history. It's been a cornerstone of our society for 88 years. This was launched in 1937, and we evolved from an early focus on clinical topics to encompass emerging technologies and interdisciplinary discussions. As I mentioned, we've grown from 300 to our current projection of over 1,500 attendees. Past topics have included advancements in surgical techniques and treatment protocols, illustrating our commitment to staying relevant. As we move forward, we continue to engage with our members to ensure the program meets their needs and expectations. So we have, as I mentioned, we anticipate more than 1,500 attendees this year, reflecting the growing interest in the field and society. Our program will feature more than 60 sessions with 18 world-renowned keynote speakers and over 300 invited speakers. And feedback from past attendees has shown an average rating of excellent, highlighting our commitment to quality. We'll also offer numerous networking opportunities to facilitate connections among professionals. We can advance there. So we have our first polling question. The 2026 annual meeting offers opportunities to earn which of the following MOC credits? And we could show the answer there. The answer, of course, is the 2026 annual meeting offers opportunities to earn section 1, 2, and 3 credits. We can advance. So who are we? Please advance there again. The Annual Meeting Planning Committee is an enthusiastic group of volunteers who work tirelessly together each year to deliver this exceptional, high-quality scientific meeting alongside the whole COS team. Let's advance. All ophthalmology subspecialties are represented, and we can advance again there. So how do we do it? On the next slide there, session chairs of subspecialty groups develop learning objectives based on needs assessment from surveys conducted yearly. The session chairs then select keynote speakers and faculty to help them develop presentations that are balanced and evidence-based. Continue to the next one. Planning for the annual meeting begins a year in advance. Creative development begins in the early summer to align for release of the sponsor prospectus and early e-blasts. A call for abstracts goes out in early September, and the review process takes place in the fall. The final abstracts are used to plan subspecialty sessions starting in January. Every year we host around 20 keynote speakers who are leaders in their fields and internationally renowned. They give multiple talks during the current concept sessions and subspecialty sessions. We can continue there. This year, we're excited to introduce the inaugural Film Festival, for which we received an incredible 31 submissions, each offering unique clinical insights and compelling educational value. The goal of the Film Festival is to develop homegrown talent in producing films as of educational importance. This is where education meets artistry, and of course, the future of ophthalmology is going to come to life on screen, and we are going to recognize some of the films that contributed the most. We can advance here. This year, we're introducing something new and exciting, our first French language COS symposium. Montreal is a bilingual, culturally rich city, and it makes sense to create a space where French-speaking ophthalmologists can share and discuss in another official language. The session will cover the latest updates in ophthalmic practice, delivered fully in French with supporting materials in English so everyone can follow along. It's a great step toward greater inclusivity within COS, not just about translation, but about creating a space for different voices and perspectives across our national and international community. We're hoping this may become a core part of future meetings, bringing more of our Francophone colleagues into the dialogue and celebrating the bilingual nature of eye care in Canada. We can advance there. Here's a snapshot of the speakers that we're going to have in various subspecialty areas. This will be on the website. We can continue there. And here are our 2026 skills transfer courses. Skills transfer courses fill up very quickly. Please register in advance. We are offering 6 self-assessment programs this year. These self-assessment programs offer a diverse range of opportunities in learning across multiple ophthalmic subspecialties. The ergonomics SAP is going to help participants identify risk factors for MSK injury in the ophthalmic workplace, practice ideal positioning in the operating room and at the slit lamp, and to understand the role of micro breaks and exercises in injury prevention. Inherited eye diseases uses a case-based format led by genetics experts, followed by a moderated panel discussion and Q&A. Ocular Oncology delivers up-to-date overview of primary and secondary ophthalmic tumor management with teaching shared across 4 course directors and includes multiple choice questions for post-session self-assessment. Refractive Surgery offers an interactive lecture on modern refractive surgery practices, covering preoperative assessment, asymmetric topographies, software-guided challenges, treatments, and so complications and case-based discussions. We're going to have one on global health, which is going to cover the challenges in delivering eye care, particularly in low resource settings, highlighting teleophthalmology and collaborative initiatives to overcome barriers. And finally, the sustainability workshop examines the impact of climate change on eye health, exploring environmental links to conditions like dry eye, glaucoma, cataracts, and vector-borne retinal diseases, with discussions on mitigation strategies and concepts like disease sync. Excellent, we can advance there. So why should you attend this year's annual meeting? This is your opportunity to engage with leading experts and innovators in our field, discover the latest advancements that can enhance your practice and ultimately benefit your patients. It's an opportunity to network with peers and industry leaders, and this meeting in Montreal provides the perfect environment for that. It's an unparalleled opportunity to meet with the people that you know from the Toric course, from your residency program and training areas, and it's the opportunity to do so in one of the most engaging cities in North America. We can advance there. So in conclusion, this year's meeting represents a pivotal opportunity for growth and learning in our field. We are very excited about the introduction of the film festival. I would encourage everyone to register and participate actively in this year's meeting. And lastly, being a member of COS means being a part of a community dedicated to excellence and advancement in eye care. So leverage your membership and register for the annual meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Musicek. We have a couple of questions here for you. First off, what sparked the idea for the film festival and for the French language sessions, and where do you see these heading?
Well, for the film festival, I think that the idea was that we needed to be able to develop our homegrown talent here in Canada and to foster development of these skills that are in an environment where we are able to showcase more local homegrown talent such that these can be developed to take part in some of the bigger meetings across the world later on. I think one of the most important things is making sure that we have opportunities for our own cases to be shown and for our trainees and ourselves to gain these skills. For the French language symposium, we were hoping to have a place where we could transmit ideas in the other official language in Canada, and to engage more with our Francophone members.
Thank you. And second question, with such global speakers, what do you hope attendees take back to their day-to-day practices?
Well, I think the most important thing, my ideal situation and what I would love to hear is that people came together, learned from the didactic lectures, had the opportunity to engage with those world-class speakers here at home and ask the questions that you may not be able to get in some of the larger meetings that happen internationally. Engaging in some of the skills development programs or our SAPs or some of our skills transfer courses to take back some practical skills. And most importantly, I think one of the things that we always gain, that we gain from the Toric course for those who are able to participate in it, and from being able to network at COS, is seeing your colleagues, exchanging ideas, and making those connections, because as we've seen now, it's more important that we're connected to each other more than ever for many of the challenges that are facing our field. And certainly I know I gain from that every year.
Thank you so much, Dr. Musicek, and thanks for your engagement and for the excellent work you're doing for the annual meeting. We're all looking forward to it, especially me. It is my hometown, and I can't wait to welcome you all to Montreal. Okay, so we have a few more minutes, and I do not see any more questions for our speakers. So thank you to all the speakers for the fantastic series of presentations. We've heard so much about the developments happening in our field. Let's see if there's anything left. I don't see anything. So thank you all for joining us this evening. It's been wonderful to hear from our speakers about the work that they're doing to shape the future of ophthalmology. I would like to specifically thank Roche for their support of our forum through this unrestricted educational grant. If you have any further questions or would like more information, feel free to reach out to any of our COS staff. We're always happy to engage with our membership. So I wish you all a very nice evening, and thanks for attending.